As we saw last week, Marie Yoshida is a woman of enormous conviction, honed through an extensive career in the bloodstock industry. In part 2 of our extended interview with the founder of Asian Bloodstock Services, we hear about some fine young women with the bloodstock world at their feet. This is now the second time that you've quarantined for this year, and of course you came out last year as well, which you're the only international visitor, I believe, for Easter 2020 when it was the virtual sale. Tell me about this year. So you've been out inspecting at all the farms, and I guess that gives you a perception too of who are doing the right job by the horses too, because a lot of vendors have very different ways of preparing yearlings.
Oh, totally. It's like going to a boutique in Paris and if you want to buy clothes, you know, you see the style of Chanel and the style of Yves Saint Laurent and maybe Hermes, or the same for jewelry, the same for antiques. You know, you would go to different little shops. It's I love the boutique here, and I love also the larger consignment. And you know exactly what they are doing. Like, it's quite transparent, you know. Some farms import a lot of mares from Europe, for instance. And I'm like sometimes feeling I am back in England or Ireland, you know, or France. Some farms are really top of the game in the Australian bloodlines, you know, all their mares. And frankly, I prefer that. It is really my cup of tea. I have, for 30 years, a fascination for the strong, solid, healthy, and again, fast Australian thoroughbred horses. It's like peace and luxury to inspect every horse and to understand not only their walk and their conformation, but also their personality. And could they adapt to Hong Kong? Could we adapt to racing in Sydney? Could we adapt, you know, like sometimes we have horses racing in Melbourne or, you know, in Brisbane. You need to find the perfect fit.
And you're very loyal with your trainers too. You're not just buying horses, you know, for instance, here at Inglis Easter 2021, just to go to Hong Kong. You actually also want the trainers here to have the benefit of you know, racing those horses too, particularly, you know, the lovely horses you buy.
Yes, it was so lucky and very smart, we can say, that we could shake hands with Mr. Peter Snowden in April 2014, Easter 2014, when it was still in Newmarket. Because he became independent trainer again with his son Paul and the team. And Mr. Liang, who is a very nice gentleman, horseman in Hong Kong, really could think that Peter Snowden and his family and team would do the very best for us, which has been more than true, you know. And behind that, the industry is much more than the trainer. You know, you have a pre-trainer. For instance, we use Hanover Lodge. I mean, I went there yesterday morning. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. just to be able to go around Hawkesbury River. It was foggy, it was wet, it was cold, but I could see some horses in pre-training, some having a spell, and they were in perfect condition, and it was peaceful, and they can relax before going back to the stable in Randwick, for instance.
And yeah, well, Hinnick and Jade, his partner, they're fabulous horse people, you know. I mean, he was a former German show jumper, so you need horse
need a
handlers.
Team.
That's right.
You need a team, and I'm talking about the veterinarian. We use Dr. Jonathan Lumsden and his team at REC. I went myself last week, in fact, especially to visit their new clinic next to Horsley Park, top of the world. It's designed by veterinarian, by horsemen, and everything is done the proper way. It is not a show boutique, it is purely a place where you can have the best surgery, the best care if you need.
California Zimble, your lovely mare. It's just such a wonderful thing, I guess, to be able to see some of those horses racing while you're here.
Yesterday morning, before going to Hawkesbury, I went to Randwick to say hello to her. And she was in a very strong mood, nearly biting me and very full of herself. Yes. I was very happy to see that, obviously.
Yes. Ambitious Dragon hits the front. He hasn't kicked away. California Memory gets his second wind.
From Europe, I could buy some racehorses who adapted very well, like California Memory, who was not the tallest horse. He was like maybe 1,000 pounds, you know, of grey finesse. But he had such a heart. Yes. And his sire, Highest Honor, was a very iron horse. And that's what you need, okay? You do not want to breed to weak, you know, breed. I mean, like, I do not like weakness, you know. I do not like a very soft, sloppy walk, you know. I want something.
Going somewhere.
Yes,
yeah.
and with good bones, good tissue, you know, it's very important. I mean, it was very emotional. Please do not believe that horses are just like computers or cars. You get very attached, and you get highly emotional, and then you want more, and you want to try again, and then you need to again stay aware of the new trends or what will work next.
Well, looking at some of the young women in the industry, how would you encourage them to become, whether it be bloodstock agents or continue the work? There are so many progressions that can be made as far as getting more young women in this industry.
I would strongly encourage any young woman and also young men to definitely work on a stud farm, a horse farm, a boutique farm. It can be anywhere, even several on them. And from a very low rank, you know, a groom, do all the job, all the work on the farms. And then, yes, if you have interest in racing or training, you can join one of the stables, start also from the bottom, you know, and it gives you so much knowledge. Then you also create your own network because you meet these young men and women who have been in this industry from birth, you know, and I especially admire two farms, Yarraman Farm and Whedon Stud. They have this younger generation coming, both boys and girls, and especially the young horsewoman at Yarraman Park, Willa, and at Whedon Stud, Amy, have impressed me extremely. Like, they are truly professional. They know how to hold a horse. They know how to walk with a horse. They know how to care, you know, how to manage a team, where are the buyers, where are we? They've seen everything on the farms, you know, from a very young age, mares dying while falling, you know, colic, fences accident, you know, your best yearling, one day is there, the next day is not. And they have so much tenacity. They have, you know, a very strong intellect. And they listen not only to their families but to others, and they really try to absorb as much knowledge, and they do not feel inferior in any way. And I would bet my money on them for the future on this industry. I would encourage the sales company to also have more young women involved. For judging horses, assessing, you know. It can be done by both men and women. It's all about question of eye and feeling and knowledge, and it's very amazing industry. You can never get bored.